Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video I'm going to be taking a first look at Gold Mythic Morgan Unhinged, who is going to be the next character coming to RTS as an advanced token wheel recruit. Now visually we have had a Morgan in the game before. I think the last one we had, and the only one potentially we had in the game, was a Mythic Trial, so potentially not many people have actually managed to get their hands on that character, although the characters that are needed for him are actually quite accessible. But visually this one looks kind of cool. He is in his crazy stage, as you can see on the right hand side. He has got his trusty shovel. There have been numerous Morgan shovels in the past, I believe. Kind of cool to have that to be the weapon that's associated. I guess that's how it is in the comic. And on the left hand side you can see the art in a bit greater detail, a bit more manic, as you can see, trying to take out a walker. He's trying to keep things clear by the looks of things. If we look at his stats at level 1440, limit break 3, he has got a tiny 15,799 attack, but his defense goes up to 32,476 and his HP goes up to a whopping 39,498. He is a strong character, of course, going to be a tank role. He's of course going to be a gold mythic, and he's going to be joining the Lone Wolves Allegiance, making him, I believe, the 4th character to join that allegiance. Now, compared to the other Lone Wolves, he does seem a bit more defensive based on his stats. We'll see how the rest of his kit is, and you can see his Adrenaline Rush is called Battle Triage. It has got a recharge rate of 55 AP, so quite defense team based on that sort of speed. Revive 3 teammates with 30% of their max HP. Heal this fighter by 50% of their max HP for 2 turns. Confuse 3 random enemies for 1 turn. So not doing any sort of damage, which is nice. It's nice to see some Adrenaline Rushes do no damage. There's been heavy damage dealing ones recently. And he's a tank that revives, self-heals, and obviously does control. The self-heal part is interesting because self-sustained tanks is obviously pretty difficult to deal with. But the revives are very nice indeed. 3 revives is massive. It isn't a huge amount of HP, but he's not a medic, so it's not really that big a surprise. The Confuse is just a little bit of a cherry on top. He's not a control role character, so he won't get the bonuses against resist, but he'll just get 3 proc, chances, and they can potentially land. If there's no resist, it's guaranteed pretty much. 1 turn Confuse. If it goes on the wrong character, you probably had, your Raven confused in the past. She can one-shot pretty much anyone in your own team, and they're going to be decapped a lot of the time. So, it can be devastating when your characters are confused. So this actually looks pretty good. It'll work on attack and defense, but I don't really see much use for this on attack teams, if I'm honest. However, I'm going to be showing this Adrenaline Rush on an attack team just because it is easier. As you can see, I have some down teammates. They will get picked up. I'll get a self-heal. I'm close to max HP, but I'll get initially a heal, and we'll get some confuses off as well. So in comes the Adrenaline Rush. Teammates are on their feet with 30% of their max HP. Morgan gets healed for a max of 50% of his max HP, and in the beginning of his next turn that will happen again. And you can see 3 characters on the defense team got confused for 1 turn. On a defense team, when Morgan's on a defense team, this is obviously great because he's effectively a safety net as a tank who are generally harder to take down, and being a strong character, he can hold like a 60% absolute defense weapon if you manage to pick that weapon up in the past. So survivability can be pretty high. There's already a pretty powerful, strong team out there, and Morgan could potentially add to that. We'll have to wait and see. So going straight into the upgrades, you can see at grade 3 it gets a flat upgrade where it confuses a random enemy for 1 turn. At grade 5 it gets +2 revive targets, so initially it's just reviving 1 teammate and then it'll go up to 3 teammates. And at LB2 it gets +2 confuse targets, so initially it's just confusing 1 enemy for 1 turn, and then it changes to 3 enemies for 1 turn. All of these are obviously important. You don't have to get him to LB3 to max these out. That's probably going to be on the signature move, but the Adrenaline Rush is kind of nice. Now if there's no one to be revived, it doesn't obviously do as much. It's just a self-heal and a little bit of a control. But as you know, if you do get controlled, especially with Confused, it can be really devastating, and it can't be cheesed as heavily because there are no attack while confused mods. So it is one of the nicer, controls out there, and obviously those teammates can devastate their own team. So for instance, Raven can just one-shot one of her own teammates, crit, and then they're decapped, and it's pretty much over a lot of the time for your attack team if that happens, especially more than once. But even once, it can be very, very problematic. So Confuse is generally nice. Self-sustain, like I say, is nice as well. The revives, I think, are just a really nice cherry on top here. So a good adrenaline rush. Let's see what the signature move has to offer. And that signature move is called Battle Cry. It has got an initial cooldown of turn 1 and a cooldown of 1 turn. Number of uses unlimited. This fighter heals for 40% max HP for 3 turns and gets 20 AP. Taunt a random enemy for 2 turns. So first off, the heal will stack with the adrenaline rush. So if the adrenaline rush heal goes off and this is already on them, he'll get up to an extra 40%. So it'll be 40 plus 50. That's nice. And then the 20 AP means from doing the signature move getting 35 AP, he'll get a turn 2 natural rush because he'll get up 55 total. And taunting an enemy for 2 turns just seems like a little bonus. Like I say, he'll obviously taunt an enemy into him and he'll gain AP from this. There's potentially other parts of his kit where he could do negatives if he's attacked. We'll have to wait and see on those passives, but just off of this, it's not too bad. He does seem to do quite a lot of control, all things considered. The fact that he's a tank, is kind of decent. And like I say, not too bad on the signature move. You're going to be doing it quite often as well with that quite short cooldown. Okay, so now we're going to do the signature move off of turn 1, and I will say that it does seem to be a little bit of a bug with the signature move. Instead of giving 20 AP, it's only giving 12, and that is obviously an issue because you're not going to get enough AP there to get a second turn natural rush. I have passed this information on to Scopely, and if it isn't fixed by the time this character goes live, I'm sure it'll be fixed very, very quickly afterwards. This is seemingly quite a fundamental part of that signature move. Now, if I select Gnaw in the top right hand corner, I'll do the signature move and you can see that it's just slightly doing a little bit less AP than it should be. Now, I have got the 40% heal. It heals me instantly. On an attack team, this is not very useful, but on a defense team, you're obviously going to have taken attacks potentially on that first turn and you can heal straight away by 40% of your max HP. Then for the next 2 turns, you're going to be able to do that too. But also, at the beginning of your next turn, you'll be able to adrenaline rush because you'll have your adrenaline rush ready because you'll have a second turn natural rush because of the way that signature move works. So now if we do last attack here with Lee, my teammates get taken down and Morgan's up. I would normally be in this situation and be able to rush straight away, and you're going to see the heals will stack with his original heal, so it goes up to 90%. So this turn he just got healed for 50 plus 40, and the next turn he'll get healed for 90, and then we'll defend again on every character just to show you the next part. Let all the characters get attacked, and now all the heal's gone away, but the timing is first turn signature move, second turn rush, third turn signature move. So there's a lot of healing going on here. Now looking at the upgrades on the signature move, you can see at grade 2, it's going to be a taunt a random enemy for 2 turns. This is just going to be added. At grade 4, it can get -1 to starting cooldown, so it's going to go from a turn 2 starting cooldown down to a turn 1 starting cooldown quite early on, honestly, which is actually kind of cool. Then at LB1, it gets -1 to cooldown, so it goes from a turn 2 cooldown down to a turn 1 cooldown. Again, pretty nice. But the big upgrade at LB3, where this fighter gets 20 AP, is really important to get that second turn natural rush. So yeah, I'm guessing that will get fixed very, very quickly for sure. There is no war anytime soon, so there's not going to be any issues for like a weekend war, for instance. You're going to have a little bit of time before the next war, so it'll be fixed before then, I'm sure. Just a little bit of an issue, but that's just the way it goes sometimes, little bugs. But yeah, works very nicely. You can see the heal potential on him is pretty crazy. He's going to be self-healing like a lot. Pretty decent control too, not just on the signature move, because effectively that could be one character locked in, because that's 2 turns, and then on the turn 3 they could get taunted again for another 2 turns. But the Confuse is going to come in between, so very messy for attack teams for sure. And Morgan easily could be behind like Rosie as a shield, and that's going to be even more devastating, I think. So yeah, definitely some pretty gruesome matchups when it comes to Morgan being used on a defense team by the looks of things. Now Morgan is an advanced token wheel character, so that means of course we're going to be giving away some advanced tokens. We're going to give away 10,000 advanced tokens to one lucky winner, and all you have to do is type in part of your comment the word shovel, because Morgan looks to have quite a trusty shovel indeed, quite a brutal one by the looks of things. Good luck if you enter. The draw should be in around 10 days, so like I say, best of luck if you enter. Now back to the video. Now here are Morgan Unhinged Mythic Abilities. These are his passive skills. Of course, he is going to be a tank, so he's going to have Strength, which is critical hit resistance. That means that he has a chance to just nullify crit hits, and that can be spectacular amounts of damage on some characters, so that's actually not too bad at all. The next passive is called Get Up. When triggering this fighter's specialist skill, one other teammate revives with 40% of their max HP. That is interesting. That is interesting indeed. That we'll have to see exactly what the wording on his specialist skill is to really know how good that is, but I'm pretty sure it's based on decaps. Foul Stench. When this fighter revives, a random enemy gets 150% infection for 2 turns. That looks actually pretty good. The last passive is called Valuable Target. At the start of each wave and turn, 50% chance to taunt a random enemy for 1 turn. This is just a little bonus. I like this quite a lot. It is only 50% chance. It isn't, that spectacular, but his other passes are, particularly that Foul Stench. That is a very, very foul stench. But yeah, the Valuable Target is nice, but it's the beginning of each turn as well, not just the wave. So every turn he has the potential to just randomly taunt someone. That can be like very, very problematic to deal with indeed. These passives look pretty nice. They're going to work with the parts of his kit that he has already, and I like that quite a lot. Okay, so here we are on turn 2, and as you can see, we have got that 1 turn taunt to proc from the passive. So you see Molly's just got taunted. We have had those 3 downed teammates, and I'm going to pick them up, and what you're going to see is lots of infections just going to pop on the defense team here. 3 150% infections. Now this is going to work on attack and defense, but defense teams can generally work a bit better against this. Attack teams don't have much ways to actually get rid of this, except for potentially like passive resists or cleanses or something like that. Heals generally, they just don't have enough. And 150% is massive, and it's going to come in every single time that this procs. Now going straight into the upgrades, you can see at grade 1 you get the first half of Get Up. When triggering this fighter's specialist skill, one other teammate revives to 20% of their max HP. It is worth noting that this should also proc the infection, so it would be an infection as well, because it will proc that passive as well. At grade 2 he gets the first half of Strength, which is 20% critical hit resistance. At grade 3 he's going to get the second half of Get Up, making it 40% of their max HP when they get revived. Then at grades 4 and 5 you can see the upgrades say Foul Stench Part 1 comes in, and it says when this fighter revives, a random enemy gets 50% infection for 2 turns. At grade 5, Valuable Target Part 1 comes in. At the start of each wave and turn, 20% chance to taunt a random enemy for 1 turn. And then we move on to Limit Breaks, and you can see that Strength 2 comes in, making it 40% critical hit resistance total. Foul Stench 2 comes in, making it 150% infection for 2 turns total per revive that Morgan does. 3 potential on his rush, 1 potential on him proccing it because of the specialist skill. And on LB3 you can see he gets the second half of Valuable Target 2. At the start of each wave and turn, 30% chance to taunt a random enemy for 1 turn. So it goes up to 50% total for that taunt. The passives are nice for sure. They add a little bit of a nice little flavor on top of what was already pretty nice on the rush and signature move, especially Foul Stench, because he is going to be reviving on that adrenaline rush, and he's going to get that adrenaline rush off nice and early. So any early nukes that come in on turn 2, he's going to be reviving those characters, unless he's taken out himself. But because of his specialist skill, he can't get decapped. So if he has crosshairs on him or someone decaps him by mistake, it will proc his specialist skill and then revive someone anyway. And then he could potentially get revived by like a Carl or something like that afterwards. Then he'll come around to do his adrenaline rush, and obviously there'll be a lot of infection everywhere. That infection is devastating for an attack team, and generally speaking, if that lands, you're in so much trouble. Getting rid of that is going to be very, very difficult indeed. So I like the passives. They add a lot to what he already has on his kit. Now, to get a better idea on how that passive works when it comes to proccing the specialist skill, we're going to read through it. Halo 2, the first time the specialist dies in combat, they revive 100% max HP at the start of their next turn. I actually thought it was a different specialist skill. It's a brand new one. It's Halo 2. Second time they revive at 75% of their max HP. Third time they revive at 50%. Fourth time they revive at 25% of their max HP. This fighter cannot be decapped. Heal reduction is removed when entering the Halo state. I thought it was the one where you just couldn't get decapped. So this is obviously much better. Halo 2, 4 potential revives this time. I think Halo 1 only had 1. So this just means if this character gets killed and then they revive from their own, specialist skill, which is going to happen because he can't get decapped, he's going to revive someone else who's already down. And he is a target, someone who you want to take out first so that he doesn't get his kit rolling, so you can take out teammates. It's actually going to be very interesting to see what you're going to do with a character on a defense team like this. You're going to have to kind of nuke him at the same time, kind of try and get the entire team out on the same turn. It's going to be very problematic, like the new Doc Stevens, basically, this guy. Very interesting. I thought it was a very different specialist skill just from looking at it. I'm still a little bit phased, if I'm honest, from being down for a little while. But yeah, very interesting on the upgrade to Halo 2. And I think a lot of people will like the fact that it doesn't only work once, whereas Halo 1 did only work once. It works 4 times, it just gets progressively weaker, which I think is pretty fair. Like if you manage to take him out a bunch of times, he shouldn't be reviving with 100% max HP each time. And then eventually, I think after that 4th time, he just wouldn't revive. It would just be, that would be it. But you'd probably be pretty happy as a defense team by that point, because that's at least 8 turns. And he's been focused heavily for those 8 turns. And then obviously his teammates have had a chance to do stuff in that time as well. So yeah, not too bad at all. Now looking at that attached weapon, it is that shovel, of course. It is Morgan Unhinged guarding shovel. It has got 40% HP base, 40% defense base, improved attack down when hit. When being attacked, 60% chance the attacker gets minus 45% attack for 3 turns. AP when hit. When being attacked, 50% chance this fighter gains 25% AP. Now I can see people definitely swapping this weapon out for something that just has a bit more survivability, just because Morgan being alive for as long as possible, even though he can get revived from his own specialist skill, is very beneficial for your defense team. And I don't think this adds too much survivability to Morgan. I don't think he needs the AP realistically. If that signature move gets fixed to how it's written, he should just get the constant signature move rush constantly. You could maybe be countering AP drain mods or something like that if that would be the case with that 4 slot, but that would be pretty much it. But very defensive on the stats. The attack down is kind of nice though. He will be taunting characters from time to time, and if it's a damage dealer getting attacked down for 3 turns, even if they only get taunted for 1 turn, if they've got attack down for 3, they're still going to be pretty out of the fight, honestly. But I can see a lot of people putting like the absolute defense weapon in his hands, the one that was the World Champions reward weapon from a couple of seasons ago. But do tell me what you think, the kind of ideas that you would have for the weapon you'd want to put in his hands. So this was Gold Mythic Morgan Unhinged, and he looks very interesting as a defense team character. He definitely is going to fit quite nicely into that strong team. It's just, who do you remove? There's quite a lot of nice characters in that team. You could potentially even remove Rosie from that team if you want to use like the proper big team and put Rosie in a different team, like your alpha defense team or something like that. Maybe Morgan will work on an alpha defense team. He doesn't necessarily have to be with strong characters. There's nothing on his kit that was trait based, so him just being on any team could be good. Especially teams that potentially could get taken down reasonably early on in the fight. Morgan would get benefits for that if he picks them up. The attack teams are in so much trouble, so much trouble. I do like the ones where teammates get revived or enemies get taken down. There's like extra bonuses on like effectively support characters, kind of like Mike in the past on attack. Now Morgan here on defense. It's kind of nice. Both had infection, but that's just coincidence. It could be anything, honestly. But do give me your thoughts on Morgan Unhinged as a new character coming to the game. Best of luck if you enter the giveaway. I want to thank you very much for tuning in. And as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.